All right, so we have a Frigidaire stove. It's a coil stove, coil top. And sometimes these do give issues. Video showing you how to test these and also to see if these are working. Now these are your infinite switches, and sometimes they are not working because this is not working, or this might be bad and you think this is bad. So I'm going to show you how to check, see if you're getting voltage coming from here to here, and also if this is working. We're also going to go over the board, see if you're getting power from the bake going to the element. Sometimes the element is bad, sometimes the board is not, and vice versa. All right, so first we're going to check these, show you how to test them to see if they're shorted, because if they're shorted and you turn that switch on, you could trip the breaker. All right. Okay, now we're resistance is good. We also want to put one lead now on the body, and the meter should not move anywhere at all. That meter should not move. Okay, so he's good. He's good. They're good. This is your element, and make sure your stove is unplugged. Plug one wire, and you should be able to check your, make sure you're on ohms and resistance, and you should get a reading. Okay, and then you want to do one more thing. You want to do one more step. As your meter is on the element itself, touch it to the body of the stove, or find a hole and stick it in there, whatever, and all right, so let's start over. So you should have a resistance. Hopefully you can see that. Okay, got a resistance. And then check for grounding just to make sure. The meter should not move. Done. So your element is good. Let's say you're not getting power. So this is not coming on. So now you're going to stick your meter leads. That's why you need to have a meter. Okay. Stick them both in there. I do apologize for that. Here's the other lead. All right, so now we have both the bake leads. So we should be getting 240 volts down here, okay? If we're good here, then we know our board is good, or our board is sending power. Put your test meter on volts AC, all right? I'm going to plug the stove in. I'm going to activate the relay. Just make sure that you don't touch anything back here. All right, so now those are live right now, okay? So we have 240 volts. That's what's going through the element. And in a few minutes or seconds, you will see it where it cycles off. And you should only have 120. In fact, okay, that says they're both active, as you can see. And I want to see when it turns off. The relay on the board cycles, but it's based on temperature. And we'll see. Of course, everything here is active. And that's the neutral. So whenever you're checking, it's very difficult to check for voltage, proper voltage when they're connected. So you always want to separate them. So now we know our bake section of the board is sending power. You can do the same to the broil, which is up top. Just make sure that your wires are not touching anything at all. You can see the test here is actually active. I'm going to reconnect back so that the element can actually start to heat up and maybe send a resistance to the temperature sensor. So we're going to turn it off right now. And always unplug, guys. Electricity is no joke. Now, I want to show you something as well. A lot of times when you're testing with this, it's more difficult to test 240 because you're going to have 120 volts flowing through this, and you're going to have 120 volts flowing through this wire as well. So it's going to show that you have two powers in theory when they're connected. But if you disconnect them, okay, you should only have 120 here, and you should have 120 here. If the board is not functioning, so let's say you only have this, you don't have that. If the board is functioning, you should have 120 and 120 coming off of here, which is 240, okay? If this guy, he comes from the board, if there's no power from the board, then you're not gonna have power here. That's why you have to separate them. If you're going to use this, you have to separate them. I'm going to plug it back in right now. Make sure nothing's touching. All right, so we're in bake. Okay, see, we're getting our voltage. We're going to also have voltage here as well. Okay, see that? It's the same. It's going all the way through. This one now should, see that? So that's where you get your 240. So yes, you can still use this because now I'm going to turn the oven off, okay? Now Frigidaire is different though. So some units, Frigidaire actually sends power down from the board. Some units will have a back feed here going up, meaning if I were to disconnect this, which I will, to show you. So it depends on which model Frigidaire, but some units will have power going up to the board, and then the board sends it down. So I'm going to turn the oven off, and this should be off. This also might be off. I'm not sure. Element just turned off. See, no power. So yeah, everything comes down from the relay. So So which is even better because it tells you that you're getting 120 here and 120 here. Okay, so everything is through the board. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. Also, make sure you're grounded. See it? You can even check your light switch, guys, with this. All right, so neutral, your power. I'm gonna hit the light switch. You can check everything on the stove pretty much with this. All right, I think that covers that. Oh yeah, we've got one more to check, which is the element up top. So let's check that now. All right, so we're under the burners and we have our test leads right now in the burner. So you got to make sure that you get it in. Sometimes you may have to wiggle just in case. So we shall see. We should get 240 volts. Okay, that tells us our switch is working and we're getting power. Then if you're not getting heat, then you need to concentrate on the burners themselves. So we're going to turn on, I think, the right front. That's the rear. That's the left front. So, okay, turning on right now. We should get 240 volts. Hopefully no sparks. There we go. So that's 243. Okay. So we know our switch is good. We're getting good power. So, and same thing here. We're gonna have it on, should have it on both. There it is. Yep. So good power. Do not touch anything until the stove is unplugged. All right, guys, I think that concludes. Everything should be working and hopefully this helps. So we're plugged in right now and I just wanted to do a quick recap. So yellow and orange, if we follow them down, okay, the broil shares the same circuit, but it's not activated, so it will not come on. You'll get 120 volts. So it's active when you activate. When you deactivate the bake and turn on the broil, then the other relay kicks on the other 120 volts. So one relay basically serves as a feeder between both. The bake does most of the work. Now, as I said, we're live. So now if we stick our yellow, which is on the left, and the orange. So if we stick our tester in here, and also on the orange, hopefully it stays. Okay, we should have 240 volts. Okay, now if you wanted to check something to see, let's just say now you're only getting 120 volts from there. Okay, you stick that on the body of the machine, you should get 120. Okay, meaning only one feed now. Now, same thing should be true here. If you stick this here and touch the body, you should get 120. Let me make sure I'm in. There we go. And then let's check it again. 120. So we know the relays are doing what they're supposed to do. I just kind of wanted to show that in addition. So, and the same is true for the broil as well. As you can see, the blue goes right there, and he shouldn't be active now. He may have 120 volts actually, even though it's not turned on. Let's see. Yep, 120 volts right there. So this unit pretty much is always 120 volts flowing through the system. The elements, of course, operates only on 240. Okay.